Hi, it's Jason with Heritage Lawns and Irrigation, where our earth-friendly fertilization and sprinkler services fix embarrassing lawns. Our mission is to make sure you have a lawn you can be proud of. Today I'm going to be doing your head lawn coaches report. This is something that I do on a weekly basis, and I talk about what's going on and what we're seeing out there. All right, I'm going to talk about one topic and one topic only. Today, we have an insect on our hands that we haven't seen here in Kansas City for 20 years. It is an armyworm invasion. We're seeing armyworms all over the city. And I want to talk about armyworms. I want to talk about their life cycle and where they have come from and what kind of damage they will do. All right, let's start talking about the actual armyworm. Where does it come from? What is the life cycle of an armyworm? So an armyworm here, I'll show you a picture. I've got a picture right here. You can see a picture of an armyworm, what it looks like. All right, so the life cycle of an armyworm, it starts as a moth. Then the moth is actually going to fly around, lay those eggs, and they are going to lay eggs. And then once they lay the eggs and the eggs hatch, they become larvae. So the larvae is the actual armyworm that causes all the problems. And that's when they do all the damage. The difference between an armyworm and a grub is the armyworm, the larvae, actually eats the actual leaf, where the grub eats the roots. So think of it this way. The armyworm is up top and the grub is below. And that is the best way to put it. So that's the biggest difference. The armyworm flew here from tropical storms. So the wind actually brought them in, brought the moths in, and that's how they got here, from tropical storms. And they blew here. They usually don't come this far because of the temperatures. They like hot temperatures. But we've had perfect conditions and they're here. They're on the lawns and they're doing devastation. They will do devastation in 24 to 48 hours. They will destroy a lawn. And they will destroy that lawn, and they'll do it quick. It looks like heat stress. You will see the heat stress on the lawn. You're like, man, things are really starting to struggle. But it's actually probably could be armyworm damage. So one thing that you can do, you can dig around, and you can see the frost of the armyworm. So what I want you to do is dig around in your lawn in those stressed out areas. See if you can see some green frost. Green frost is just a simple term to say that is armyworm poop. As my 12-year-old would say, poop. That's armyworm poop. So if you dig around, you're going to see that green frost. You're going to know you have armyworm damage. That's why things are browning out. It almost looks like a weed eater was on the lawn ripping up the grass. And that's one other thing that you can see. If you can see like little chew marks all over the grass, all over the leaf blade, then it's probably armyworm damage. So we need to make sure that we're investigating on what's going on and doing our part. So then the next stage of the life cycle after the larva stage is the pupa stage. That is the life cycle that we want right now, is we want them to go into the pupa stage, because when they're in the pupa stage, they're not going to do any damage. They're not going to cause any problems. So that is the life cycle of an armyworm, and we need to make sure that we understand the life cycle and we understand how that works so we can treat them. So when we're treating them right now, we're using a surface insect control. So a lot of different people will use surface insect control or a granular insecticide, and we use a surface insect control, and that will actually protect them and will last like 2 to 3 weeks, but that will actually stop them and protect them, because if they eat that insecticide, it is going to kill them. So make sure that if you're doing it yourself, you're DIYing it, you can do a hose in insecticide. That works just as well, or any granular insecticide. Most insecticides that cover 240 or more insects, the armyworm is going to be on there, but make sure we're watching those rates, because the grass blade is a little taller, so we may have to bump up those rates. But that is the life cycle of an armyworm and what we can do to actually control and stop them. The armyworm usually is not an issue here, and it's an issue now, and it's an issue that we're dealing with. And a lot of people are going to ask questions, is my grass going to die? I'm just going to be very upfront with you. If it's brown and they've ate the leaf, we have to keep that crown wet. If we don't keep the crown damp, we don't keep the crown alive, that grass is gonna die. It's gonna desiccate and die. So make sure that we're keeping the plant wet and keeping it going and keeping it alive. Once we have some cooler temperatures, things will bounce around. We may still have to do some fall seeding. So keep that in your mind when you're thinking about everything. We're probably gonna have to do some seeding. So we're gonna have to do some verticut and seeding. So if you're seeing the damage, be on the lookout and make sure we're keeping our eyes open. If you have any questions, give us a call, 913-451-4664, or always visit our website, heritagelawns.kc.com. That is your Head Lawn Coaches Report, and I'm Jason with Heritage Lawns and Irrigation. We'll see you out there on the lawn.